This question really looks to an application of mindfulness and zealous advocacy. The question is, in law, we are trained to advocate strongly and push back. How do you balance being mindful and understanding without coming off as passive? Now, this is a very interesting question. I think in many ways baked into it are certain assumptions about what it is to be mindful and what it is that zealous advocacy looks like. And I think it's safe to say that different clients, different opposing counsel, different facts, different law call for being very nimble and flexible and being able to draw upon a variety of different ways of interacting and responding and countering. And it can look very, very differently based on those different factors. So it's not that there's one size only, and usually a one way only to respond to something is more of a blunt instrument that can be helpful at some times and unhelpful at other times, or less helpful than it could be. So let's take the question that's asked. How do you balance being mindful and understanding without coming off as passive? Well, I would inquire, what is it about being mindful and understanding that suggests passive? I would say that if what is meant by passive is, backing off and being unduly compromising and withdrawing and all that, then there's nothing about what it is to be mindfully aware and have a strengthened degree of mindful awareness in an interaction that would suggest coming off as passive. In fact, to the contrary, coming off as passive would be not mindfully or as mindfully attuned as one could be. So as an example, if a person is involved in an interaction and they are catastrophizing or afraid of an outcome, and they're not aware of the fact that their catastrophizing is out of touch with reality, it's a reminder to Sharon Salzberg's statement that mindfulness is being able to tell the difference between what's happening and the story we're telling ourselves about what's happening. Well, when we're not seeing clearly what's happening, but we're actually caught up in a story of our own making about what's happening, well, then the fear and the worry becomes much bigger than it actually is, and then we can find ourselves backing away and becoming passive, or bending over the other way and becoming unduly and often unhelpfully aggressive. And so, as a reminder, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is seeing things clearly. It's noticing the stories we're telling ourselves and being able to rein it in so that we can come back to a clearer read of the situation. Mindfulness is being able to be not only focused, but able to notice when we lose focus so we can get back on task. Mindfulness is also being able to self-regulate amid emotional agitation and volatility. Indeed, the practice of law and zealous advocacy can have us taking personal and seemingly personally attacking other people, and that is born out of and gives birth to anger and agitation, which can oftentimes lead to not only a lack of professionalism and civility, but actually losing track of the issue and then engaging in a lot of distractedness that can add an enormous amount of cost to a case, can prolong a matter, and can agitate a judge who's making decisions and or turn off a jury that is deciding a matter, none of which serves our client's interest. So the ability to take that agitation and to be able to manage it so that we can see our way through to an effective form of advocacy is what being more mindfully aware than we might otherwise be through the practice of mindfulness and other ways that we can cultivate greater mindfulness is all about. So that previous statement, in law we are trained to advocate strongly and push back. There are times when pushing back and being firm is called for, and there are times when it would be very unhelpful. Many lawyers have blown big deals and lost matters because they pushed back and they wouldn't let go when every sign was pointing towards a really good deal on the table, or the conditions being ripe to actually move into a more collaborative embrace. At the same time, many lawyers have walked away from and not persevered when they could have gotten a better deal. And so how do you navigate and how do you discern? Well, the greater the mindfulness that we bring to bear in these situations. And again, not something mystical, not something touchy-feely, not something soft and compromising, but rather seeing clearly, being able to self-regulate, and being able to stay on task and focused. And with that, the ability to better understand where the counterparty is coming from so that our responses can meet them where they are, so that we're able to actually achieve outcomes that the law is intended to, which is to resolve conflicts effectively, efficiently, and to the best interest of our clients. This is what I think mindfulness is all about.